Good morning, everyone. I'm Fox 47 News Chief Meteorologist Brad Sugden. Hopefully you have your large cup of coffee ready to go. It's going to be a long day ahead, unfortunately. Our ice storm is here. It will cause treacherous travel through the day, especially later on, and especially the further north that you get. Power outages are likely. Some of them could be lengthy, just like what we saw about 10 years ago in 2013. And some impacts might even extend a little bit into Friday with a flash freeze coming our way. So ice storm warning is in effect with a winter storm warning to the north. That just means that we'll have some snow falling on top of some of the ice, but the ice totals up there will be a little bit less than those, of course, in the ice storm warning, and even less down to the south, where we might have some melting within a flash freeze as possible as well. So really a lot going on here. I want to break down freezing rain ice accumulation for you here. I used this graphic a lot last night, but it just bears repeating because we accumulate ice on power lines, they sag under the weight, right? That's a lot of weight you're adding to something very thin up in the air. Just up to 1/4 of an inch can add 500 pounds of weight per span. Nuisance traveling and minor damage there, but then you get those higher totals, which really cause them to sag even more. And not just power lines, but tree branches as well. When you get up toward 1/2 an inch, that could add as much as 1,200 pounds of weight per span. Tree branches can already weigh 30 times their normal weight. Now, unfortunately, when you get those really big storms, you really start to grow the ice on the power lines. They sag even further, and then you start to have some pretty big issues with that. Now, this range is in the realm of possibilities for our viewing areas. That's basically like adding the weight of a car per span of power lines. Roads can be impassable. Damage, honestly, could be crippling in some areas. So we're not trying to scare anybody, but again, this has happened. So back in 2013, 650,000 in Michigan lost power from a very narrow band of ice that came through the state. Up to 3/4 of an inch was along I-69, and this time we might have a much wider area impacted other than just I-69, so a lot going on. Now, by 10 o'clock, we'll have that freezing rain lifting off to the north. Light to moderate here, but it gets very heavy very quickly the further into the day we go. Notice temperatures all below freezing. We're starting to get some pockets of what could be localized downpours. Models here indicating maybe even a thunderstorm, which is just incredible, given the fact that the rain will be falling into temperatures below freezing. And we keep those numbers below freezing thanks to that northeast wind that you see by 7 o'clock. So even though that model is trying to indicate rain, it's still going to be freezing rain. Now we might start transitioning to snow off to the north briefly, but it doesn't get very far south at all. The moisture starts to exit the area, even though a few spits of freezing drizzle will still be possible. Now by 4 p.m. Thursday, notice we're above freezing for sure. Not by much though, and not for very long. It comes crashing back down. By 11 o'clock, some of us already flirting with the teens to the north, while down to the south we might continue the melt, but that will indicate a flash freeze overnight into Friday. Lots going on, unfortunately. So this huge area has the possibility for 1/3 to 3/4 of an inch of ice accumulation. Notice it tapers off very quickly north of Lansing, but then up there you have ice possible still with snow falling in on top of that. So that's where we could see north of St. John's, maybe 4 to 7, which is technically just outside of our viewing area, but in Clinton County will range between about 1 inch and 4 inches. I put this red hash here because honestly it's going to be a mess. Snow, sleet, freezing rain. You're just going to have a lot of everything accumulating on the ground, just squishy, slushy, a lot of water coming down. And then that's all going to freeze because we're not going to get rid of that before, of course, the flash freeze comes. Further off to the north, we're looking at more than 1 foot of snow possible up north. So if anyone has plans to enjoy what could be one of the last hurrahs of winter up there, hey, there might be some snow finally. This is the bigger problem today, though. Wind speeds sustained 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting about 35. That causes those tree branches, power lines to move around, and that's when they have a better possibility of coming down. So unfortunately, we're the 1 degree on the wrong side of freezing for this one. We are watching out for high impacts from the storm, and then overnight freezing drizzle still possible with 24 degrees and some pretty gusty winds, and even stronger winds into Thursday. Even though they do come with warmer air, they could be gusting about 50 miles per hour. So power crews might not be able to get out there and restore power as fast as they want. Then the flash freeze comes, and again, it's just like getting knocked down again when you're already down. So might have some impacts last into Friday as well. I think the weekend looks a lot better, but then more weather could already be on the way by next week.